it's going to be very different. There are so many initiatives taking place right now. And then how we make each of them dovetail in a manner that works would be the detail. But then if you look, first of all, at what's going on, the eligible customer thing was declared, so there's a flurry of activities there. The discos are not too happy about it, but many people believe that it could be a win-win if it's well applied. So we need greater communication between the policy framers and the industry operators. So that would be an interesting thing to look at, because it would then slowly move us to the era in which you could have willing buyers and willing sellers. So the issue of tariffs, at least for those segments, become immaterial. As you know, the non-cost reflective tariff is the bane of the industry. So this is one of the measures it is hoped will address that issue. Talking about tariffs, we had hoped that by the end of the year, as recommended by the regulator and even the World Bank, that we would have had cost-reflective tariffs.
By the end of the year, 2017?
2017. But understandably, we are moving into pre-election year. The government is not going to gamble on that, so we have to find ways of getting around that issue.
So you don't see that happening in 2018 either?
I doubt if it will happen. I mean, we've had stories like we want enumeration completed, we want metering down. I'm not saying those are not important, but the truth is that the liquidity issues in the sector is predicated on non-cost reflective tariffs.
Now, I want to talk about the fact that the government is, sorry to cut in there. I want to talk about the government has approved a framework that it hopes will attract investment. Basically, it's investment to help transmit or to help distribute power generated. What do you think they really have planned out?
We don't know yet. These things we read about too, the way you read about them, but clearly there's a need to support the distribution side of the business. As I mentioned in one of our earlier programs, with the Power Assurance Fund, if you recall the 701 billion, it was largely addressing the supply side of the industry, but nobody was talking about the distribution side. And if you don't want cost-reflective tariffs, then there must be a way investments must come into that sector of the industry, so that you can then distribute power that's at least now being transmitted. We're told generating capacity has gone up to 7,000. They can probably will all 7,000. I doubt that. But even if it's 5, what the discos can take today is around about 4,000. And that's because of limitations within their network. And expanding is a function of tariff and all that. So if you say there's a framework now to attract investment, it will be very interesting to see it. Would there be, for example, cost-reflective tariffs? I doubt if anybody was going to bring their money into an environment where there's no cost-reflective tariffs. Does the government have enough money to deal with a gap? Because there's a gap.
So for the government now,
create a subsidy if you want to, but there's a gap and it needs to be addressed.
So for the government now, it seems to, I mean, going by this statement really and what the framework hopes to address, it seems for the government, distribution remains a key issue.
Well, every member of the value chain is a key issue. For example, in December, we had...
We're talking about them trying to ensure that they distribute, 2,000 megawatts of power generated, but not transmitted. Yeah,
but what I'm saying is it's not just distribution that's the problem. You still have a problem with the grid generally. Gas, remember, in December, there was a fire on the Escravos line, low pressure in the transmission, system collapse, and we had that for quite some time. So we still need to deal with those issues. Then transmission, yes, there's a lot being done. I give credit to TCN to boost transmission, and it's remarkably gone up from what it used to be at inception to what it is now. So the challenge, of course, is on the distribution side. The distribution companies need to fix their own distribution networks, i.e. get your feeders working, get your transformers working, so that at least the power that's generated and transmitted gets to consumers. And of course, there's a metering challenge. You need to meter people, so you reduce disagreements within the industry. So it's a value chain that needs each other. The only criticism I have about efforts on the part of the government is the consultation is not wide and deep enough. You cannot be taking out you cannot be making fundamental pronouncements and leaving out key players in the sectors.
And who are these key players you think they're
The
leaving
distribution companies, for example, the eligible customers in consultation with the discos was minimal, and they're not very happy about it. We're now hearing again that you have an initiative to bring in 2,000, and if I believe what I read, the federal government would put up its own share of the 40%, and the distribution companies would put on 60%. Nobody understands that. 60% of what? Against what? Are you going to, I mean,
when we talk about the fact that players in the power sector also really need to get their monies back in terms of ensuring that customers pay for power used, it's a good thing you mentioned the lack of infrastructure.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's really very key to ensure that you get your money back. I was actually going to ask, whose responsibility is it to actually put that infrastructure in place? But, hey, the privatization process has already taken place. So I guess it falls back here now to the distributors. How much of that are we going to be seeing in 2018? Are we going to be seeing more metering playouts? Are there going to be more innovative ways to ensure that at least, though the cost-reflective tariff is yet to reflect, but then at least are you going to be getting your money, even if it's just 80%?
Well, clearly, I don't know about 80%. If we got 80%, that would be fantastic. But that's not what's going on. But I can assure you, the metering plans are robust. We are embracing any initiative that would allow for rapid deployment of metering. So please, I want to dispel the impression that the discos are against it. No, we want it. There was CAPME before. But CAPME was stopped by the regulator. And we've been saying, let it come in. And CAPME was a scheme in which consumers were paying for their meters, and then you sort of net it off their tariffs and all that. But that was stopped. So we need to come back to it. And now, if there are other players who are willing to invest in metering, we can look at it. It's just that they must work together with the discos, because metering is at the heart of this business. It's the trust line between the consumers and the distribution companies, and so the meters must be robust. They must answer to modern day requirements. We are moving away from prepaid platform to smart metering platforms, so that there's two-way communication between the consumer and the distribution companies. That would reduce areas of conflict.
How's the smart metering platform going to work out?
Yeah, just pretty much the way your telephone system works. You know how it's a smart metering. What we had before were obsolete. So at some stage, we're actually going to change all the meters in our network. But right now, we're concentrating on metering everybody. In Eko Disco, for example, we just recently took delivery of new meters. These are smart meters, MD meters for our most prized customers, so that we are doing quite a lot. And we're also we're looking for funding initiatives, because under the performance agreement, there is a cap on your capex. When we came in, the agreement was to spend $250 million over a 5-year period, which roughly translates to $50 million a year. Now, if for any reason your spending requirement goes above $50 million, it will not be recognized in the MITO. So which means if you spend beyond $50 million, it's lost.
And that kind of happens.
And yeah, we need to, for example, tinker with that to make so that investment can come in.